Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. I genuinely think I picked the worst day to sit down and film a video. It is 27 degrees here in Ireland today, which might not be anything to some of you guys, but we do not get this heat in Ireland. Like, it's going to be 29 degrees here tomorrow. That's absolutely insane. We have never reached them temperatures ever. And the heat we get here, it's not like a nice heat. It's like pure dead. It's like so humid, and I hate humid heat. My makeup is just sweating off my face. The frizz on my hair, like nothing will cooperate. I don't even know why I bothered putting on makeup today, because I'm going to have the sweatiest top lip little mustache going on by the time this video is over. But I thought we would sit down today and just have a super honest, transparent Q&A chat. So I don't know if any of you guys remember Ask FM or had Ask FM, but back in the day, like when I was a young teenager, probably like 14, 15, Ask FM was the thing. So like on your Facebook page, you would share your Ask FM link, and then basically your friends would go in and they'd write anonymous questions, and you'd answer the questions, and they'd be shared to your Facebook page. But a lot of bullying went on Ask FM. As you can imagine, it's anonymous. Nobody's name or picture is attached to anything. You're basically inviting in arseholes. It was so bad what used to go on back at Ask FM. I got an awful doing on it. Awful doing. But I've seen recently, you think I would have learned my lesson from back in the day? Clearly not, because I've seen this new app that has been floating around. It's called NGL, not gonna lie, I think is what it stands for. But you basically share the link to your Instagram page, and then people can send in anonymous questions. And I've seen a bunch of like creators doing it, and I was like, feck it. I want to give it a go, because I know a lot of people don't like their name being attached to questions. Even if people aren't being arseholes or you're not trolling someone, some people just don't like their name being attached to stuff. So I was like, I'll give it a go. And you guys came true. I just want to say though, I feel so blessed to have you guys and anyone that follows me, because I did not get one mean message, and I am so grateful for that, and I appreciate that so much. Like, I actually had so many of you guys just writing in things like, I love your content, like just sending some love in case anyone's being an arsehole. And not one of ye was a fucking arsehole. I did get a couple of comments that I always get, but you know, nothing really nasty, and I fucking love you guys for that, and I'm just so grateful. I know I don't have the biggest audience, but I just love this little safe space we've created on the internet, and it feels so safe to me, and that's just such a nice feeling, because I know that's something that a lot of creators don't have or don't feel, and I thank you guys for that, because it's you guys who make this feel so safe. So thank you, and thank you for supporting me. Thank you for sticking with me. I love you so much. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to get that out there, because I feel like I haven't expressed my gratitude for you guys in a while, but just know that it is there in abundance. Right, let's just dive right on in and get started. Okay, so the first one is, what contraception do you use? So as you guys know, over the years I've been really honest about my contraception journey, and I spent 6-7 years on the pill. So between 15, I've been off the pill now over 2 years, about that time mark I'd say. But I was on a few different pills from the age of 15 until 22, I think, and I was on the pill for the majority of that time. I had a couple of little breaks, but mostly on the pill. As a lot of you guys know, I had an awful time on hormonal birth control, and about 2 years ago when I last came off the pill, I was determined to just stay off the hormones, because they were having much more of a negative effect on my body than a positive one, and it just wasn't worth it for me. And then obviously, because I've got PCOS, I couldn't figure out what was going on with my body naturally, because I was pumping synthetic hormones into my body for years, since the age of 15, which is extremely young. So I didn't know what my body was naturally doing, how my cycle was naturally looking. And when I got diagnosed with PCOS, I really wanted to start getting in tune with my body. So last year I did a video and I shared with you guys that I had started Natural Cycles, and I am still using Natural Cycles to this day. So I've been using it for over a year now, which is absolutely insane that I've been using it for that long. Today's video is in collaboration with Natural Cycles, but when my last subscription ran out, I repurchased this subscription myself, because I am a huge fan. So Natural Cycles is the first FDA cleared birth control app in the US, and it's also CE marked in Europe. Since Natural Cycles is an app, it's 100% natural, no hormones involved, exactly what I was looking for. And what I love so much about Natural Cycles is not only can you use it for contraception, but it also teaches you about your body and your unique cycle, and you're able to track everything in the app. And this is what I love so much about it, because when I got diagnosed with PCOS, as I said, I didn't know what was going on. And since using Natural Cycles, I've been able to get so in tune with my body. Like, I now have a year documented in the app. So the way it works is you take your temperature first thing in the morning. So I always leave my thermometer on my phone because it's the first thing you go for in the morning. So when my alarm goes off, before you take a drink of water, before you get out of bed, before you do anything, you just pick it up and you put it under your tongue and you press the button, leave it there about 30 seconds until it starts to beep, and then your temperature reading will come up and you pop your temperature reading into the app. The app will then give you a fertility status for that day. So a green day means you are not fertile and you are good to go, and a red day means you are fertile and you need to use another form of protection, example condoms. So I use this along with condoms. You can track a bunch of things over there. So you can track how you're feeling, your symptoms, you can track if you've had sex, you can track your cervical mucus. There are so many little things you can track, and that's what I mean. It's just insane for helping you get in tune with your body. So obviously you can use Natural Cycles as birth control like I do, but you can also use it to plan a pregnancy, because obviously when you're tracking your cycle, you then know when you're ovulating, so you know the right time to have sex. And I feel like this will be so helpful for me in the future, like to have years backlogged of information that I can also bring to doctors, gynaes. Like, it's just incredible information to have logged in one place. I just think it's so important for us women to be in tune with our bodies, because they're so complex. There's a lot going on in there, and we need to be working with our body, because if we don't know what's going on, we're often working against our body. They have very kindly given me a discount code to share with you guys, so you can use my code JessieB to get 20% off the annual subscription along with the free thermometer. I just feel like it's so important that we know our options when it comes to birth control, because hormonal birth control doesn't suit us all, just like non-hormonal birth control won't suit everyone as well. So you need to find what works for you and your body, because we're all so different and also unique. Right, so moving on, the next question is, how come you didn't buy a house and are renting? Honestly, so many goddamn reasons. So first of all, the housing market in Ireland at the minute is absolutely insane. There's literally a housing crisis here, and I know it's the same in so many countries. The prices of houses here are the highest that they've ever been, which obviously in return means that your deposit is so much more. So currently just not in a position to buy a house. Also don't want to buy a house. Like, I'm only 24. I'm not interested in buying a house at this age. Like, I still feel really young. I don't want to like tie myself into something. I know how a lot of people look at it is, if you buy a house, it's profit technically, because you can rent it out, and if you rent it out, that's essentially an income, or you can eventually sell it down the line, and all going well, hopefully you'll make a profit when you do sell it. So a lot of people see it as a good financial decision, but I don't think it's something you should do for the sake of doing, because like that, there's so many things that I still want to do. I would love to fuck off and move abroad for a year at some point, and I don't want to buy a house somewhere and then feel confined and locked in, because when you get a mortgage, it's like 30 years you're locked into that mortgage. I know you can sell your house, but all of that just involves a lot of stress, and I'm just not interested in putting myself through that at my age. Also not in a place to do it, but not interested in it. Like, I'd rather have the freedom, like at least when you're renting, you know, if you do want to move abroad next year, it's so much easier to do that than having to worry about, oh, gotta find someone to rent the house, then if anything goes wrong in the house, that's your responsibility, or if you sell the house, then all the stress, and there's all these extra costs tied into a house that you don't see until you're doing it. Like, you don't even realize all the little costs that come with it, and it's just not how it was in our parents' day. Like, I know so many of our parents would have owned a house at our age, but the times are so different. Like, you cannot compare our generation to the one before. You just can't. Just like, you know, our kids won't be able to compare their lives to ours, because they'll be so different at that point, and you're not going through the same struggle. So I think it's silly to like hold yourself to that standard, but I also feel like there is this real thing in our generation where it's nearly frowned upon to be renting, and I just don't understand that mindset at all, because I've said this already, but your environment has such an effect on your mental well-being. And just say like you're living at home with your parents and you're struggling with that, because it is really hard when you become an adult, and even if you have a good relationship with your parents, I think it's just really hard to navigate living under the same roof when you're all adults and you're all living different lives. It can get very frustrating, and that's just normal. So in that sense, you can't put a price on your mental well-being, and your environment in return is affecting that. So I just don't know why we look down at renting or as if it's a bad thing or you're throwing money down the drain, because you're absolutely not. Like, it's like a stepping stone to something else. Like, you're learning so much. I spoke about this in my most recent video. When you're renting, you'll learn things that you otherwise will not learn. Like, if you're living at home, you cannot learn these things. But also, it's good to learn these things before buying a house, because then you're going in buying a house with a lot more knowledge instead of going from your parents and moving in together. And I'd say even the same thing about if you're moving in with a partner. Like, I just think it's way better to rent a place before you buy a place and just see how you get on living together, just the two of you. Like, buying a house is such a big decision, and I've seen so many people, even online, like, you know, they go from not living together to buying a house together, and I've seen it crumble down for so many people because you don't know what it's like living with someone, and whether that be a friend, whether that be a partner, whether that be your family, you have to navigate living together, and some people just cannot navigate that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like it's just good to kind of learn these things before throwing yourself into, you know, buying. So basically, the long and the short of it is, not in a position to, and not interested in doing it at my age. It's something that, yeah, I 100% want to do down the line in the future when I'm a bit older. But, you know, there's other things that I'm worried about right now, and it's not buying a house. Do you know what I mean? It's just like having a baby. I'm not in a position to have a baby. And that was like another question. I got a couple of them. It was like, you know, when do you think you'll be ready to have babies? Has your sister pregnancy sparked any baby fever in you? Like, of course. Like, I love babies. I'm so maternal. I cannot wait to have kids. But I am not in any ways in a position to have a kid right now. It's actually something that I'd love to sit down and do a whole video on, because I find it a really interesting topic. And, you know, how we ask women constantly, like, when do you think you're going to have kids? When do you think you're going to be ready? Like, I get the question all the time, and I know partially probably because I have expressed how badly I want kids, but not at this point in my life. And it's so funny because I used to think when I was like 16, I thought I'd be married at 24, and I thought I'd be trying for a baby within the next year or two. Like, that is crazy to me. Like, even 2 years ago, I was said that I'd like to start trying for my first baby at 27. That's in 3 years. That feels so soon. Like, there's so much that I want to do before I have kids, you know? It feels like time is just running away. I don't know, does anyone else feel like that? But when I look back now, I'm like, where have the years gone? This is bloody terrifying. Like, no. And I just feel so strongly on not bringing a kid into this world until I'm able to give that kid the life that it deserves. And right now, I am not, and would not be in a position to give a baby or child the life that it deserves and everything it deserves in this life, you know? One day, but not any day soon. And until then, I will just pour all of my love and affection and motherly instincts into my sister's kids, because I bloody love my nephew so much, and I cannot wait for her to have a second baby. I just cannot wait. And it's also so nice in that sense. Like, I've never been around babies before, because no one in my family, you know, had young kids that I would have been very close around, or I would have spent a lot of time around. So, you know, by my sister now having babies, I'm learning through her, you know what I mean? And I'm seeing things that I wouldn't have seen. And even in that sense, it's a full-time job. And it's exhausting. And your girl is exhausted on the bloody daily. So how the hell I would manage with a child? I'm still working out how to take care of myself, let alone another little human. I genuinely think this question is always going to follow me around. And I know I have addressed this so many times, but I cannot tell you how often I get this question. It is constant, like so often. I had so many of them, you know. I had people in that question box, a couple of you saying, you have an eating disorder, do you have an eating disorder? Another person here, you've secretly struggled a bit with your relationship with food. Another person, is there a possibility you're too unhealthily skinny, asking from a place of love? I just don't see how... Oh my god, what is that noise? No, don't tell me somebody's gonna cut their grass. Please. I really hope you cannot hear that lawnmower. But as I was saying, I just really struggle to see how these questions are asked from a place of love. Like, to go up to, you would never go up to someone and go, do you have an eating disorder? Like, if I did have an eating disorder, do you realise how triggering that would be? Like, I don't know why we are still in 2022 find the need to comment on other people's bodies. And also, because I've spoken about this so much, like, people are aware how much these comments affect me because I've had it for so long, and I even had it before I was online. Like, you know, I was bullied over my weight from certain people that I went to school with, and it was horrible. It's horrible. This will honestly be the last time I ever address this because I'm just so tired addressing it. But first of all, I don't have an eating disorder. Second of all, I have a healthy BMI, so I'm not too unhealthily skinny. Third of all, as you guys know, I have suffered with my mental health very badly in the past. I do suffer with my mental health, and anytime I am extremely depressed or if I'm going through a lot in my personal life, I lose my appetite. I fully lose my appetite. It's not a conscious thing. It's my body reacting, just the way a lot of people, vice versa, they might gain an appetite if they're really depressed or going through a lot and might turn to food as a comfort. But I've always been this way from a really young age, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know where that comes from, but I will genuinely force myself to eat in them times because I know I have to. But it's just a case that I don't have an appetite, and then when I do eat, I feel really sick. So that is what I have. That is what I do struggle with. But it's never a conscious thing. I've never consciously restricted my food. I've never gone through anything like that. I am 5'7". Like, I'm on the tall end for a girl. Like, my weight distribution would be different from somebody with the same weight as me who was shorter. And because I'm taller, it means, like, my weight distributes differently. And also genes, like, our genes are also different, and our bone structure and our bodies are also different. So yeah, no, I don't have an eating disorder. I don't struggle with food. I struggle with food when I'm depressed and I don't have an appetite, or if I'm going through a lot and I really struggle to eat, but it's never a conscious thing. And it's really sad because I've spoke about this before as well, but like, I've struggled with my weight so much at different points in my life because of comments from other fucking people, even friends, family members, people in school. Like, I got an awful time for it at one point. Like, you know, there used to be this boy who used to shout at me when I'd be walking down the corridor saying it looked like my legs were gonna break, and it's just nasty. Like, people don't realize that you can also be bullied and get a really hard time for being or looking too thin or whatever the fuck that is. Like, it's actually so sad because I got really bad body dysmorphia from comments constantly being made to me over the years, and it really fucked with my head in a way, you know. And I got to a point where, like, all I wanted to do, even though I was exercising and eating what I should have been eating and feeling good physically in my body, I would have this constant battle in my head because of how other people were perceiving me, and, you know, that I didn't look like a woman, and I was too fragile looking, and like that, like saying, do you think you're too unhealthily skinny? Like, no. Like, this is healthy for my body, and what's healthy for everyone's body is so different. I've lost a lot of the muscle that I had built up because in the last year I haven't been consistently exercising like I once was, which is something that I've been getting back into. But, like, you know, just so many little things that affect the way we look, and our bodies are just all so different at the end of the day. It's why you should never compare yourself to one person to another, even down to, like, your genes, your bone structure, how your body will distribute weight. Like, when we gain weight, we all gain it in different places. Like, no two people will gain it exactly the same. Like, we're all so different. And I just hate as well how I always feel like I can't talk about my body because I am, like, on the skinny side, if you want to call it, and people are like, oh, you should be delighted that you look that way, like, I'd kill to look like you, and it's like, yeah, but you also don't realize that there's the other end of it too. Like, you know, you can be given an awful time when you are on that end as well. You know, it's not just one side of it. It works both ways. And I hate that. Like, I fucking hate it. I just wish we could stop commenting on people's fucking bodies at this point. Like, honestly, like, all it does is harm people. It's so harmful for people's mental health. It fucks with your head so bad. And it's like, why do you care? Like, you know, if I sat here and told you I did have an eating disorder, like, would that make you happy? I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't affect you. Like, what anyone is personally battling with or struggling with is their own business. And if they want to share it, that's their decision. And if they don't want to share it. But I feel like people don't realise how much they can trigger people and even send people into a spiral in their own head. Like, you know, thank God I'm at a much better place with my body now than I've ever been. But like, when I got all these comments, like, a bit of me was just like, oh, like, still, like, really, like, I've addressed this so many times and I'm still having so many people comment on my fucking weight. Another one that I have gotten ever since I started YouTube, again, I'm just going to quickly kill it. Have you ever had any filler or Botox? No, never had anything. If I did, I would tell you guys. The only reason you probably think my lips look bigger now is because I actually know how to do my lips. I know how to put lip products on my lips. When I started YouTube, I think I was underlining my lips. Like, I was actually putting liner in under my lips, like beyond where my lip be going. I hadn't a clue what I was doing. So I just know how to do my makeup now. That's probably the only reason why my lips might look bigger in some photos or in videos, because I just am wearing the products better. But no, I would always be so transparent with that. I think it's so important to be, and I have so much respect for people who are, because you just have to be in this day and age with the way the internet is. Like, there's too much shit with filters and editing, and you can literally edit videos now. What the hell is that about? I saw it came up on my TikTok. Like, you can fully edit your body now in a video. That is terrifying. So we've got to be completely transparent. But no, I'd be too afraid to get it done. I'd be absolutely terrified. I have an extreme phobia of needles. And I couldn't deal with it. Why do you never talk about your brother, and do you have a good relationship with your brother? A lot of you guys mightn't even know, but I do have a brother. So I have a brother and a sister, Melanie and Andrew. Melanie and Andrew both have the same two parents, but I have a different dad to Melanie and Andrew. So they share the same dad, I have a different dad. We all share the same mum. So that is our family dynamic. And the only reason that why I don't ever really talk about my brother is because he's a very private person. He's not online. He doesn't share his life online. It's not a bit of him. And I totally respect that. Just like there's so many people in my life that I never mention or share online because that's their own wishes. And I will always respect that. How many years are there between us? There's 6 years. So he's 30. And I lived with him until he left our home house when he finished school at 18, 19, something like that. So I would have been like 12, 13. So I lived with him for like 12, 13 years. And then he moved out to go to college and whatnot. But yeah, me and my brother, I have got a good relationship with him. We don't talk a lot, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if we ever need each other, we know we're there, and we don't not get on. Just again, like, my brother wouldn't be a big texter, he wouldn't be a big caller. It would kind of just be like when we see each other in person, and that's just the way he is as a person. Like, we're just all so different. Whereas like me and Melanie would communicate very often, like multiple times a week. You know, we would have phone calls, we'd be texting, we'd be voice noting. It's just the way people are like that. Like, you know, I'd have friends that I text all the time, and then I'd have a friend that I literally will only normally FaceTime. Like, we hardly ever text. And it's just how you communicate different with different people. But yeah, that's my brother. Would you ever discuss or share intimate details of a past romantic relationship with a current partner? Should I? Do you recommend it? I don't think so. Like, intimate details, I don't see why there would be a need for that. The only thing I don't understand is if it was something that was kind of directly correlating back to you. So if it was more of an experience you had that you wanted to kind of communicate something different you want, or what, you know, so just say your previous partner was very selfish in bed, and you were then having a conversation about being selfless in bed and what you need in the bedroom because you really struggled with this, or, you know, if somebody was very rough with you in bed, or them kind of things. I feel like if it's to explain what you need going forward, I feel like in that sense, yeah, like if it's coming up very organically, but not to sit down and be like, Right, so me and Billy started kissing first, and then he slowly put his hand down, and then he started, like, there was no need. Like, you don't need to share that information. Like, they don't want to hear it. Like, they don't need to hear it. Like, it's so irrelevant. Like, it's just like you wouldn't go into the ins and outs of, I don't know, like certain conversations that you've had in the past. Like, it's just totally irrelevant. Like, if you and your previous partner talked about marriage, like, yeah, if that's, you know, if that's come up and you're like, oh yeah, I had spoken about that before, but you wouldn't sit there and be like, so he said this and then I said that and then he said that. Like, there's no need, I don't see, to go into like details unless it's for a reason, as I explained, to like benefit your sex life going forward, or your next relationship, or to express likes and dislikes. Have you ever posted anything online that you really regret? Off the top of my head, I can't say that there's anything, but if I was to go back and watch every single video I ever posted, probably, yeah. Because obviously, like, I've been doing this now for like, what, 5, 6, I think it's 6 years in September, I think, and that is fucking insane. So, like, I don't know every single thing I've ever said online. Yeah, things that I probably said 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be like, what are you on about? Like, what? Like, you know, if you don't share the same view or you don't think the same way, there probably would be things I regret saying, but as a whole, no, because it's like, that's kind of the journey of life, is you change and you evolve and you grow and you learn. And it's also cool to be able to look back, which I don't, but it is cool to be able to look back and be like, fuck, like, I've grown so much. Like, I don't even recognize her. They're like two completely different people. Do you know what I mean, at the end of the day? And if I was comfortable sharing something in that moment, it's like, it's just silly for future me to regret it, or like current me to regret it, because it's like, at that moment, at that point in my life, I was happy to do that and I didn't have an issue with it. So it's like, what is the point in regretting it now? Do you know what I mean? It's really not that deep. Like, I try and not to think of things like that, because it's like, at the end of the day, we're all going to die and nobody's going to give a shit what you did or what you said. So if you just be you and stay true to yourself while you're on this bloody planet and stick to what you believe in, then I don't see why, you know, you should look back and regret on. Because again, in another 5 years, I'll probably look back at this video and be like, Jessica, oh my god, that's so fucking embarrassing. But that's growth, that's evolving, that's change, and that's only positive in the grand scheme of things. What's the smallest / least problematic reason you've dropped a friend before? Least problematic, probably just having different interests in life, in a sense of like going down different paths, in a sense of feeling like conversations are forced, feeling like you don't really have that in common, feeling like you don't really click like you once did, because you have both changed and grown as people, but you've changed and grown in different directions. And that's just life, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that either party is a bad person, or either party, you know, like that did that. And yeah, that would probably be the least problematic reason I've dropped a friend. And it's not even dropped, just like we grew apart. I'd never just like drop someone if they did nothing wrong, just to, like, fucking ghost them or something. It would just be a case of you'd slowly start talking less and less, slowly stop hanging out, but also kind of consciously being like, you know, this friendship just isn't really serving me anymore, and that's just it at the end of the day, and there's no deeper reason for it. My battery just died out of nowhere, so I just gave it a quick little charge, and I'm going to try and make this quick, but we'll do one more. So, how do you know what to share and what not to share online, but also in real life with friends? How do you set your boundaries, and do you feel okay even with sharing intimate things? Do you ever regret sharing? Not judging, just curious, because I still haven't figured it out for myself. I feel like that's such a good question, but it's also one that is so hard to answer, because I feel like it's something that changes throughout your life, depending on where you are and your views and just a bunch of different things. Being brutally honest with you, I still haven't figured it out either. And like, at the point that I am at now, looking back, there are definitely times where I have crossed my boundaries, but that's only my boundaries now. It wasn't my boundaries back then. So I feel like it's such a complex thing to try and work out. How I base it off is if I'm comfortable with it, what my gut is telling me, how I feel inside. That's kind of how I mostly base off whether or not to share something. Like, I have often spoke about things in a video and it's come to editing and I've gone, nah, I am not comfortable sharing that, no. And when it comes to friends, I probably find that a little bit harder at times, which might be funny because obviously it's a lot more like in the moment, and I've definitely opened up to people that I regretted after. Like, I hate that feeling when you've hung out with someone and you've told them something very personal and then you leave and it's just replaying in your head and your mind and you're like, why the hell did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have told them that. They didn't deserve to know that about me. They don't deserve to know me like that, or, you know, whatever it might be. I hate that feeling, but I feel like I've gotten a lot better with knowing who I can trust, and I feel like that comes with like life experience, is just being able to read people. I'm so much better at reading people now and just their energy and kind of getting in touch with like, what is this here? But when it comes to sharing, like, it's also a way of connecting with people. And, you know, I have friends where, you know, if you share a little bit, then they'll share it and it makes them more comfortable to share. And then that's how you get into deep discussions, and it's how you can become extremely close with someone, is by both of you being really vulnerable and opening up yourselves like that. And I honestly think that is one of the most beautiful things in this world, is connecting with other people on a deep level. But how I look at it a lot of the time as well is that, you know, as I said earlier, we're all going to die one day. At the end of the day, nobody really cares. So if you are comfortable with something, why not let someone in, and why not, you know, share like that? Because you can not only help yourself by, you know, opening up on that level instead of keeping it inside, because when we keep things inside, it's ultimately going to come out. So like, if we are suppressing so many emotions or some hard experiences we went through and we don't feel comfortable sharing that with people, but then you're ultimately trying to cope with that your own. And as humans, we need other people. We cannot do it all ourselves. Like, this day and age, it's all about being independent and, you know, you just do you, and you're the only one you've got. And yeah, there is truth in that, but at the same time, we need humans to survive this experience, which is called life, and life is fucking hard. And, you know, I bloody love connecting with people, and it's definitely something that I spoke a lot about when I did therapy there for the last year and a half, because I can probably be a bit too open sometimes, but it's just my nature, and it's always been my nature. And I think partially why it is my nature is because I just bloody love getting on that deep level with people. Like, I hate surface bullshit. I hate surface level conversations. I hate it. I'd rather be on my own than sit there and talk about the bloody weather, or, you know, just shit. But when it comes to sharing intimate things, I would keep intimate things for the most part to myself. There obviously have probably been intimate things I've shared over the years, but as a whole, I'd say intimate things are intimate for a reason. And like I was saying earlier, unless there is kind of a reason you're sharing an intimate thing to get to a different destination or to explain something further, I think that's okay. But sharing intimate details for the sake of sharing intimate details, I think, is a different story, but that also depends on what level of intimacy we're talking about. So that would kind of be where I'm at with that. There's a little fly around, he's really pissing me off. That would kind of be where I'm at with that, but I'm still like you, figuring it all out. But I've definitely gotten a lot better, I feel, with knowing my boundaries, both online and personally, like face to face with a friend or something. Like, I know now my boundaries, like what I am and am comfortable sharing, and I feel like you kind of only learn that through time and through sharing things that you probably shouldn't have shared, you know. And I know that's where I've definitely learned my boundaries the hard way, is by sharing the wrong things with the wrong people. So also kind of not going full in straight away, like giving yourself some time, even if it's a new friend, like, you know, maybe share a little bit and see if, you know, they share back, and can you trust this person? And I feel like so much of it comes down to your gut instinct and how you feel. Like, how does it feel? Like, do you think you'll feel better opening up and sharing this thing, or do you think you'll feel worse? That is a real indicator of if you're comfortable with something or not. But yeah, still also trying to figure out. It is a very hard one to get to the bottom of, I feel. Let me know down below where you stand on that question, because I feel like it's a really interesting topic of conversation and everybody will feel very differently on it. But I'm going to wrap it up here because my camera is going to die again. I literally gave it a quick little 10-minute charge, but there are some other really good questions here I want to answer, so I will do another Q&A really soon. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget you can get 20% off Natural Cycles and a free thermometer with my code JessieB using the link down in my description box. I cannot wait to see you all in my next video, and I love you all so very much. Bye friends.